Welcome back to lesson 5 of the Your Watercolor Summer Weekly Challenge. Hi, I'm Chris V from octopusconnection.com, and I've been a creative teacher online since 2016. I offer courses, a watercolor membership, and I have over 20 classes on Skillshare.com. I'm so happy you joined this low-pressure challenge designed to keep you painting all summer long. In week 1, I shared some great tips for you for painting during the summer. Week 2, I showed you how I put together a DIY travel watercolor painting kit for some on-the-go painting. In week 3, I shared my 2 favorite travel watercolor supplies and why I love them so much. And week 4, I took you out on the town with me for some surprise on-location painting projects. This week, let's talk about one of my new favorite spring and summer subject matters, flowers. True story, I was the most unlikely flower painter. I figured that there were just so many flower painters out there, why do they need me? But I was so wrong. Thankfully, one day an arty friend of mine offered me an opportunity to co-host a flower challenge with her on Instagram. I almost didn't do it because I've never been much of a flower painter. But then in the end, I decided that's why I should do it because I needed to try something different. So we, along with some awesome challenge participants, some of who are here in this challenge too, painted 30 flowers in 30 days. And it really paid off for me. Then we did an IG Live to talk about how the challenge went, what we would do differently next time, and to share some of the stories of the challenge members, which were so interesting. This was the biggest surprise about hosting a challenge. Who would have thought I would have been able to get in on the lives of amazing artists out there with such deep and thought-provoking reasons for watercolor painting? It was mind-blowing, and I've added a link in the description below so you can see some of that beautiful work that came out of the hashtag 30-Day Flower Challenge on Instagram. And you can click at the top right of the screen right now to check out my challenge debrief video here on YouTube to hear about some of those amazing stories from those challenge members. But I'm not going to lie, that challenge was not easy and I almost didn't get some of my paintings done. The thing is, as I gave myself grace not to have to paint every single day, I discovered that I actually could do it. Giving myself the option not to paint actually gave me the motivation to paint. It gave me a reason to want to finish. So apparently reverse psychology really does work. After all 30 paintings were finished, I felt so accomplished and I had gained some new skills, like a newfound ability to stick with one unfamiliar painting theme for 30 days. But there was more. That challenge is what gave me the grit and the confidence to even attempt sharing weekly videos with you here on YouTube. Creating videos weekly is a big project, and after completing 30 paintings in 30 days, I figured doing a video once a week wasn't too much more than that. So as you challenge yourself, you never know what it could lead to. For painting inspiration this week, I didn't go any further than my backyard. And I literally mean my backyard. Because speaking of flower challenge, this week I'm sharing some flower projects with you. Now, if you're not interested in painting flowers, I totally get it. But I do recommend you at least try painting a half a dozen flower projects before you decide. The good news is that your project is always going to be beautiful when you're painting flowers. I mean, what's not to love, right? I'm starting with this beautiful oleander that hangs over my wall, and I get to enjoy this luscious flowering bush. Oleanders generally come in white, light pink, or this lovely magenta color. Would you believe they are highly poisonous to humans though? Regardless of this, you can find them all over town because they grow like crazy out here, even in the intense summer desert heat. They're beautiful all year round, and they provide a wonderful thick foliage, nature privacy screens, and of course the beautiful flowers all spring and summer. I snapped a photo of this bush and took it into my studio to paint. I used a few different greens for emphasis on shadow and light, but you can keep a flower painting as simple or as complex as you like and it will still be beautiful. The light green has a lot of yellow in it, and the bottle green that I used has a lot of blue in it. So in using both of these, it gives me kind of the full spectrum of greens to work with. After the leaves were done, I painted the flower with the magenta from the Viviva Colors Colorsheets original set. I added some water on the petals here and there just so that the color would have some variation as it does when the sun shines through them in real life. Then I took a shot of some jasmine. Jasmine only blooms during the month of May out here in the desert, and I particularly love that sweet smell. After May, it gets too hot and the flowers dry right off and fall off the bush, so I make sure to enjoy them fully in those few weeks. I started with the leaves again on this one, and while I strategize how to paint the flower. Painting a white flower on a white paper background can be challenging, so I decided to use a watered down version of my yellow ochre from the original Viviva Colors color sheet set, which gave it a creamy vanilla look. Then I used a darker version of that same color to add some detail and shadow in the center. Next, I took on a potted plant that I don't know the name of. But these vibrant flowers really got my attention. They're so beautiful. And they were so vivid and bright. And I knew my Viviva watercolors would be perfect to capture them because these paints are so saturated. So for this one, I actually painted the background light green from the original color sheets for starters. Then I went with the bottle green from the fall set for a deeper, more saturated color for painting my leafy shapes. This one is a really good example of a loose painting style where I just let the paint flow and I didn't really care where I was putting it. I did try to keep my leaves non-symmetrical and I tried to continue filling the page while leaving spaces in between for flowers. I love using the different greens for leaves just to add some variety. I mean, after all, when you're looking at a plant or a flower, all the leaves are never all exactly the same green, depending on which way they're facing. Plus, it's just fun to experiment. After the background dried, I started painting vague flowery shapes with the pastel pink from the fall color sheets. Again, I didn't go for perfection, but just general shapes and impressions of flowers, facing different directions, painting flower buds and different shapes, as well as varying the intensity of color throughout the page. Seeing the final painting didn't make me feel like I painted the best thing ever, but I looked deeper and realized this would make a great pattern design for fabric or wallpaper. I think that's why it's so important to be open to trying new things, even if we don't feel like we're good at them, because our world expands along with our options and even potential new income streams can come out of this. Do you paint flowers where you live? Remember, flowers might look boring to you in your natural habitat, but might be very exotic to someone else who doesn't live where you live. So don't discount your everyday view. Go on a walk in your neighborhood or paint your backyard or paint the flowers on a trip. If the weather isn't good for going out or you're in the southern hemisphere where the flowers aren't really blooming right now, you can use free images on unsplash.com or other sites like it to fuel your inspiration. And don't forget to use hashtag #MyWatercolorSummer when you share so I can feature you on the Challenge Hub page. If you haven't already, I hope you'll join us in the Your Watercolor Weekly Challenge to get more video lessons, helpful PDFs, weekly updates in your inbox, a community to share your work, and a Challenge Hub all for free. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, tap the notification bell, so you don't miss any new videos in the series. Then check the link in the description below to join. If you missed last week's video, you can tap on the screen to watch it now. And if you want to start from lesson 1, you can find that on the screen now as well. I'll see you back here next week for lesson 6.